Welcome back to another edition of BRANDPULSE Unplugged Special. My name is Omaruga Temlade Victoria, and I'm here with the convener of the Consumer Values Award in person of Mr. Akonte Ekene. So today's theme will be focused on the votes are in and the consumers have spoken. The voting portal has officially closed after 2 months. How are you feeling at this moment?
I think like every other person in the office and the team, we are excited. We are very, very happy about it.
So 5 years ago, Consumer Values Award started as an idea. Today, it has become one of Nigeria's leading consumer-driven recognition platforms. Looking back, what goes through your mind?
I think it goes to say that phrase that you should just start. It's always very, very important. Start something that comes into your mind and leave the outcome in the hand of God or leave the outcome to the processes. But I think the biggest thing in my mind is that going into places and I hear people talk about the Consumer Value Awards gives us that feeling that we are doing something that is seemingly right for now.
This year's voting seems to generate conversations across many industries. What stood out most during the voting period?
First and foremost, in the last 4 years, we had seen some almost standard experience where, particularly in the telecom sector, that people are gravitating towards a particular brand. In the dairy sector, people are gravitating towards a particular brand. Even though those brands still tend to have a good number of votes, but there seems to be a competition in some sectors such that there are reductions in numbers in terms of percentage of votes from those sectors towards other brands within the sector. So I think that this year, more than anything else, the expression of consumers has shifted out of price to that thing that has value in terms of affordability, consistency, and all those things.
Without giving away any results, did anything surprise you about the way consumers voted this year?
Well, because it's not the same set of people that are voting, which is one of the beauty of these Consumer Value Awards. It's always different sets of people, different attitude, different character. So the surprise is that some new brands that came into the platform got some immediate recognition by way of numbers of voting. And then the old ones too still sustain their places, but there's a slight shift in the pattern as we will see in the result that will come out very soon.
People often ask whether awards can truly reflect consumer opinion. What makes Consumer Value Awards different?
At the end of the day, everything we are doing here, it's about the consumers.
Yeah.
And for every brand that is in the marketplace or the service that is in the marketplace, if there is no consumer patronage, that brand is there. So it is the consumer that has the ultimate power to validate if a product is really doing well or not. And they validate that through their repeat purchase, through their votes. If a consumer is not satisfied, some days ago, we attended a conference and I said clearly that without consumers, there is no brand. And any brand that wants consumer to patronize them must clearly respect trust in its business circle. And that trust means that they must at all time ensure that if they are labeling product, it must be very clear. If there is a proper price tag, it must be clear. And the information on the product itself must be very, very clear. So consumers are the ultimate deciders of brands and products and services. They own the power to give value to any brand.
Many consumers say they voted based on actual experience rather than advertising. Does that align with what you've observed?
So one of the differences that we've tried to get the world to understand is that Consumer Value Award is not about popularity. It has nothing to do with, oh, this is the most popular brand. No, it is your experience. That is why you have opportunities at the nomination stage to state your experience when you are listing any brand for consideration. We ask people to tell us what they feel and why they nominated brands. So the design of the voting pattern itself is to encourage consumers to say, look, oh, I know this brand based on this. That is why I'm voting for those brands. And if you look at our list, it's not all popular brands, so to speak, that are listed on the voting platform. It is brands that were mentioned by consumers. And we got a couple of calls from people to ask why their brands were not listed. And the simple answer is that during listing, when we asked people to list, a couple of people, and I mean consumers, went to the site, and nominated those brands. And when you nominate a brand, all brands that are nominated, first and foremost, I think are good brands by the nomination. So it is the responsibility of the same consumer that nominated to also now cast votes for those brands. So our position is that we are not doing popularity contests. It is an experience based on consumers' taste and preference that we have reached this position.
Now that voting has closed, what exactly is happening behind the scenes?
Okay, so behind the scene, we at least this is the second day of close of voting. We are collating the numbers, and then hopefully the letters will be on the winners table, and then our guests, speakers, and members of the public will be informed. The secretariat is seemingly busy trying to put all the structures together to reach out to winners for them to be part of the initiative. And I think anybody that gets this letter should celebrate the consumers' respect.
Can you take us through the journey from the close of voting to announcing the winners?
Okay, so the ultimate announcement of the winners is going to happen on the 23rd of September at the Radisson Blu Hotel. So what we are doing presently is identifying the voting and doing our analysis to sustain proper clearance with the team. And then letters will go out to the winners at the private sector and the public sector for them to see what has happened over the last 3 months, because there was 1 month of nomination and then there are 2 months of voting, and so 3 months of intensive consumer engagement. Results will be shared with winners soon.
We've heard that the letters are now being prepared for the winning brands. Can you tell us about that process?
It's as simple as ABC. For those that we are fortunate to have their email details, we will send them direct mails. For those that we have physical address, we will send them those things. As much as possible, we are trying to keep the integrity of the process, and we are also telling ourselves that if anybody gets the letter, it should respond. We have quite a number of days ahead of us to finalize the delivery, mailing, and all the stuff. And hopefully, in the next couple of days, those things will happen. Dispatch, email, everything will be done.
Do the winners already know they've won?
No, except those that have been very, very active on the platform. Because one of the things that we said to ourselves at the beginning of the Consumer Value Award from inception is that everything we'll do will be open to the public and it will be transparent. That is why during nomination, people go to the site, they can see the brands that are nominated. During voting, as you are casting your votes, you can see the numbers. So if you are still on the website, you are likely to see the announcements based on the final digital work to say these brands are the winners. So they might, but they might not. But it's our responsibility as the coordinators of this program to also formally inform them to say this is the true situation of things, and the choice is theirs to always respond.
What emotions do you normally experience when those letters begins to leave your office?
It would be nice to be there when they deliver the letter, but I'm not there. But from feedback in the last 4 editions, I think we get calls to say, oh, Mr. Ekine or Mr. Days, thank you, we saw your letter. And then we get calls to say, oh, so we are going to be part of this. What do we need to do? And all those things. And we tell a lot of people, we have invested our time, energy, and resources into creating this situation. It only behoves on them to also be part of it through what is necessary for them to attend an event and enjoy the atmosphere.
Can you describe this year's results in just 3 words? 1,
great. 2, it is exciting. And 3, I think it is one of the best results so far in the last 4 years.
Without mentioning names, were there any categories that turned out to be particularly competitive?
The dairy category, the milk brands were at war. The cola, for the first time, the cola brand swing to somewhere else. It has always been one particular brand, and we don't know what happened, but it went somewhere else. So if we look at the final details, which is one thing I've not done, and I'm waiting for other information on the platform. Every category this year, including the public sector also enjoys disruption, so to speak.
Should consumers expect any surprises when the winners are unveiled?
I think everything about Consumer Value Award is a surprise. Because if you sit in your corner and feel that you are good, consumers might tell you that you are not good enough. So if they tell you are not good enough, then you are going to be shocked. And if you are good this year and you don't keep to it, you might not be good in the next year. So everything on the platform is a surprise. The differentiation in terms of voting is also even a surprise. Like in the telecom sector, we thought that, well, some brands will really, really gel, but they didn't. And then where we thought that they will also live up to that expectation based on what we are seeing, which is why we said it's not a popularity contest. It didn't happen like that. So,
is it fair to say that long-standing winners may have been challenged this year?
The essence of Consumer Value Award is actually to put every brand on the hot seat. If you think you are good as a brand and you sit back, you are going to receive the shock of your life. That is one thing about the Consumers Value Awards. So, yes, you must have been winning for some time. Your degree of win in terms of voting numbers, if you check, okay, for instance, there is a category that in the first edition had over 70% vote. In the second edition had over less than 70%. And in this edition is struggling to cross 50%. This brand won in those past editions. But in this edition, it's probably the leading brand, but the percentage of vote has decreased. So those are the kind of things that consumers have done to some brands. They say, look, yeah, we enjoyed you, but there's a change in how we enjoy you. And then there are newer brands that are coming up, or there are competing brands that are doing better. And then so instead of voting for this brand by 100% of people, there's a split in that vote. So that's what we are. And that's also a surprise. So it's not something that is cast in stone to say because you are good last year, you'll be good this year. No, it's we like the competition, we like the evolution, we like the fact that no particular brand can sit and say, oh, I did well this year, so we are that brand. That is why we said the hand and the carry is a competition for every brand to want to be part of.
Can brands that were nominated but do not still win gain valuable insights from participating?
Oh yes, the data is available. If they request, we will give them. And it's also an opportunity for us to mine the data and also share with those that have shown interest with us and that have been part of us. Because the first thing is that every brand that is nominated is a winner. It shows that there's something good about them. The other part is that, yes, there's something good about you, but there's something not good enough for you to win the Consumer Value Award. So if you see your voting pattern and you see the results, you are likely to be tempted to ask yourself in-house, what are we not doing right? And what can we do better? So that at least when next there is a Consumer Value Awards, we can make some things happen for ourselves.
Some people see awards simply as trophies. Why do you believe Consumer Value Awards is much more than that?
It's a perspective. But the Consumer Value Award is beyond a trophy. It's a statement of validation and it's a badge of honor. The Consumer Value Awards is also a feedback to the service provider, the manufacturer, that he or she is doing something well or not. So while we do not want to go into conversation on the subject of whether awards are trophies or not, we have a clear understanding of what we are trying to do in the marketplace, which is basically to say, look, we want to steer the market and we want the market to be better. And we think that our market can be better. And one of the things we know about improving the market is that it also helps the development of a nation. So the Consumer Value Award itself is not a trophy. It is a movement. And the movement is designed towards speaking to every consumer at the end of the day to exercise his fundamental consumer rights in the marketplace. Because if you enjoy your rights in the marketplace, you will be enabling the market to be better and you'll be improving our standard of living. So we are not just run-of-the-mill awards. We are defined in our own class as an influencer of the market for the good of the Nigerian consumer.
What message do the results send to Nigerian businesses?
The message is very clear. If you're doing well, we will give you thumbs up. If you are not doing well, we will stay away from you. And it's happening in the markets. It's happening in the cola market. It's happening in the telecoms market. Sometimes we think that some brands or some segments of our market is almost a monopoly. But the truth is that if you look deeper and based on what we have seen, the economy itself is challenging. So consumers are moving. Buying behavior is changing. Buying pattern is changing. Consumers are looking for that great value without spending much. That great value without spending much. So there is a challenge also for manufacturers now and service providers to retweak their products to meet the consumer's pockets.
How should CEOs interpret the outcome of these awards?
Okay, so I think the CEOs should know that first and foremost, it's a feedback to them. So they should take it as one opportunity to learn more about the consumer behavior, because the consumer behavior is changing. Our economy is changing, and the consumer behavior is changing. Consumer buying is changing. The consumer character is changing. So an average CEO should look at the Consumer Value Awards results as the latest information about the market.
What advice would you give to brands that may not receive an award this year?
I think it's very simple. They should wake up. In fact, the starting point should be that if your brand is not listed in the Consumer Value Awards nomination list, you should ask questions. So if you don't get listed, you should ask yourself, why were you not listed? And if you don't win, you should look at the results and ask yourself, what didn't we do right? Didn't we get ourselves involved? Because at the end of the day, between listing and winning, it tells us that there are certain dissatisfaction happening between consumers and some brands. And that is why that brand that didn't win. Because somewhere along the line, consumers are simply expressed that you are not doing enough to get their mark.
The phrase consumer voice has become closely associated with Consumer Value Awards. Why is that voice becoming increasingly important?
The consumer voice is associated with the Consumer Value Awards because there is a need for us generally to have a voice in the marketplace. You remember that there was a time that we always hear the labor people talk. But this time around, it's the consumer that should talk more. Because what is happening in our economy, they said we are going through some time in the economy. And in all the conversations that I've seen, there are very few places that they've given the consumer a voice. Look at when they are talking about the price change for petrol. The prices of petrol is going up and down. Who are the people talking? Only the sellers of petrol. I've never seen anywhere where they've given opportunity to say, where are the consumers people to even talk about the impacts of this petrol pricing that is going up and down. They are talking about electricity tariff. Recently, they talk about there's going to be a change again in the electricity tariff. It is the Minister of Power that is talking. I've not seen or heard where the consumer is speaking on electricity tariff as it affects the consumer. So what we are saying with the Consumer Value Award is that, yes, we have a platform to engage the community of manufacturers and service providers. We also think that there should be a deliberate effort in our economy and in our society, where at every policy situation, the voice or the thought of the consumer is given a reason to appear in the conversation. That way, when decisions are made, it's not going to be afterthoughts that people are saying we are going to go on strike. Look, there is something called the patient's bill in the medical sector. There's something about the patient's bill in the medical sector, which is the right of the patient in the hospital. Some days ago, the Nigerian Medical Resident Doctors Association has given the federal government 10 days ultimatum to go on strike. Now, the patients that they are supposed to attend to was not even in the picture of that conversation. Was not. I was listening to them on a TV station. Nobody talked about the patient at all. But based on the patient's bill or the patient's rights bill, there should have been an opportunity for a patient to even say something. Why would you want to go on strike as a resident doctor and leave thousands or millions of people that are sick? There must be somewhere along the line where people in the process of having a national conversation, we'll say, what are we talking as consumers? How does this impact on the consumers? So that is why I think that, when people say that the Consumer Value Award is fast becoming associated with consumer voice, it's almost right to want to say, yes, it's nice. But there are circles and pockets of conversations in our society where we are not seen as consumers. And I think that's very, very important.
Do you believe Nigerian consumers are becoming more demanding?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And there are instances. That is why when you go on social media, if I'm not happy with you as a consumer, instead of me to write to you, I will go online and post about your product. If you are good, I will post about you, So, and the Nigerian consumer, the economy is even making us to be more demanding, because you don't want to buy something at 1 naira and get home and find it faulty. You want to buy something at the best possible price in the market and find it useful. You don't want to buy and find it faulty, because if it's faulty, you are going to be buying the same thing twice. So you want to be sure of what you are buying. You want to be buying at the right price, and you want to buy at the right place.
What trends are you beginning to notice in the expectations of today's consumers?
Well, it's all about more demand. And the thing is that our society is also evolving. There is a traditional market and there is a modern market, or the modern trade. So there's a transition happening. Even though we would still love to go to our traditional market, there is that transition that is happening, that more people are getting into that convenient mode of going into the modern markets to buy things. But and that is also about segmentation in our society. There is the side where there are older people that are comfortable with haggling to go into the market and battle out the price. And then there are other people that will rather go into the place and just pick and pay. So those are trends. And modern trade is taking its own position, and our traditional market is also still taking its position.
This year marks the 5th edition of Consumer Values Award. Why is this milestone significant?
We started out by saying, let us try. So from trying, we got ourselves an identity in the marketplace. In fact, people ask us, when is the next edition of the award? People ask. So 5 years in the life of anything is very, very important. It's like having a child. It gives you an opportunity to reflect if you are doing something right. And that is one of the things that we think this 5th edition is giving to us, to say that, if you are not doing anything right, you won't be around. And if you are doing something right, you're around. So the milestone is not just in the numbers. It's in the fact that 1 or 2 brands have succeedingly taken advantage of the Consumer Value Awards in the marketplace, and they've used that to reposition themselves, and they've consistently associated with us. So it means that there's a value in the Consumer Value Award itself as an enabler and as an influencer. And it shows that there is a journey for us, and there's a space in the market for us. And the 5th edition is going to be good. It's going to be very, very different. And we are hoping that the winners will be more excited.
What should guests expect on the 23rd of September that will make this edition different from the previous ones?
Okay, it's going to be a night of networking, first and foremost. It's going to be that night of expression. And it's going to be an atmosphere of love. And it's also going to be that one night where we will celebrate the consumers. For the first time, we are going to create an atmosphere where consumers from the markets will be at the award nights.
Why should brand leaders, regulators, marketing professionals, and consumer advocates make plans to attend?
Because they are consumers too, first and foremost. So whatever cap you wear, just the same way you are, now you are a presenter, but you are a consumer.
Yes.
So it is a night for the consumers. More than anything else, the Consumer Value Awards is actually celebrating consumers. The brands are just vehicles to express the happiness of the consumer. So all individuals in the society, all of us, we can only take 200 people in the hall, and that is why there is an invitation card. But we also make sure that those that have been following us, there is a promo that is going to be out very soon. Those that are following us will have an opportunity to answer some questions and be part of it. We are looking for 5 winners that have consistently followed us on our YouTube channel. And if you are that person, when the question is out, you should answer it and you get an invite to be part of the Consumers Value Awards.
What has been your biggest lesson in building a platform where consumers determine the outcome?
Well, it's an ongoing lesson. It's an ongoing lesson. And the challenge is life is dynamic. Life is dynamic from the people that are doing the website to those that are trying to put the idea of copy, production together. Human beings are very dynamic, and the dynamism of the humans is a reflection of what we are doing. And that is why, and our first site was not as good as our second site. And today we hear people talk about our present site, and I think we are not there yet.
If you could say one thing directly to every Nigerian that voted this year, what could it be?
Thank you. It's just thank you for keeping the dream alive. It's a civic responsibility. And this is not about trying to sing any praise of anybody. If we all sit down and fold our hands, we won't make any progress in our society. And if we all go on TV and say, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this government is this society is this service is this, we won't make progress. But rather than complaining, what we have done with the Consumer Value Awards is to say, let's identify those things that are good and celebrate the things that are good. So anybody that comes to the platform to even cast a vote is also joining a movement to say, there are good things in Nigeria, and let us identify those good things in Nigeria and celebrate them positively. The Consumer Value Award is not about panel of judges or board of directors or board of trustees sitting down and saying this is good, that is good. No, it's about the consumer. It is what you say that it is good that is good. Because if you don't say this is good, somebody else will produce something that is bad and give it to us as good and we will sell. But with the Consumer Value Awards, every vote is making a statement, and that statement is what you are doing well. And if you are doing well, our society can be better. If the brands and products and services improves, our standard of living will naturally improve. If customer service is better, our respect for each other will be better. There's a moral responsibility between the consumer and the manufacturer, because in one breath, that same manufacturer is also a consumer. You understand? So because he's also a consumer, if he does well where he is, he will expect something better from the other person when it turns around that he is a consumer. So at the end of the day, I can only say thank you for joining this movement and hoping that it's going to be better for our market at the end of the day.
As we count down to 23rd of September, why should everyone keep following Consumer Values Award over the coming weeks?
Because we are all consumers. 23rd is just one day. The Consumer Value Awards, it's our life. It's a journey. Every day we go out of our house. Every day we stay in our house. Every day at wherever place we find ourselves. As consumers, we are interacting with products, services, and the markets. Even your conversation with your parents or with your sister, at one point or the other, you have become consumers because you are consuming information from her or she's consuming information from you. So we should be together because we are on this journey that we call the movement for a better society or a better market.
All right, we've come to the end of today's edition of BRANDPULSE Unplugged Special. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you soon.